Hello, this is a project by Luca.
and Eugene.
Margaret Kagan was 17 years old when German army occupied Kaunas. Born in Riga, she soon moved to Kaunas, the temporary capital of Lithuania at the time. Experiencing Soviet occupation 1940 to 1941 and German occupation to 1941 to 1945, Kagan's normal life was destroyed when German troops invaded Lithuania in 1941. When the Germans reached Kaunas, chaos engulfed the city with severe attacks against the Jews.
Holocaust is one of the most terrible events of the world history. Hitler's seizure of power in 1933 and following racist policies of the Nazi Germany killed millions of people through gas chambers and forced labor in numerous ghettos and vicious concentration camps. Those who survived from the period never forget how their brothers and sisters were massacred. Margaret Kagan, the Holocaust survivor, also struggled for her life at the same time.
Margaret's time was turbulent internationally and socially. When she was born in 1924, established order of imperialism collapsed following to the end of the Great War in 1918. Ideological divisions between each nation intensified as revolutions and coups happened in many countries. Supports of far-right racism like Nazism grew throughout interwar period, 1918 to 1939, and anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, which stressed the Jews destroyed German nation by stealing national wealth for themselves during the First World War, seemed reasonable to many Germans. Hitler's party gained popularity when economical situations worsened through Great Depression in late 1920s.
The advance of German troops engendered widespread violation throughout Europe since the 1930s. Germany attacked Czechoslovakia, Poland, Belgium, and France, annexing immense territories such as Austria. After that, the target became the Soviet Union in 1941. Persecution of the Jews followed, then evacuation would be next. Lithuania, which located on western territories of the Soviet Union at the same time, was not an exception.
Everything changed abruptly. Lithuanians, who regarded Russians as occupiers, welcomed the Germans because they experienced unequal treatments such as prohibition of language. They thought the Jews as collaborators of the Soviet authority and committed mass murders or pogrom. Margaret's family never leave from the city, although they had heard about brutality of Nazis. Margaret's brother Alik was in summer camp near the border when the Germans invaded the Soviet Union.
Circumstances seemed hopeless for Margaret. On August 15th, the German authorities ordered Jews in Lithuania to move toward Mariupol, where the ghetto located. They were forced to build a military airport near Kaunas, and hardships continued as wartime tensions intensified. Margaret and her family originally thought that the war would be ended soon, but German authorities didn't retreat from Lithuania until 1944. Evacuation, loosened forced labor were still in presence because Lithuania was at the rear part of the Nazi Germany at the front. Several years passed since the Germans illegally seized Lithuania, and normality became normal. Innocent people, especially the minorities, were found as dead at the death machine of the Germans. Margaret also lost his parents. Her father was never back to his family while working streets of Kaunas. Her mother committed suicide in the concentration camp. She could survive throughout hopeless years with long-time endurance and miracle-like fortune.
Marrying with Joseph was fortunate for Margaret. Margaret and her neighbors heard that evacuation of the Jewish population in the ghetto was imminent. If they followed orders from the authority, death would be a matter of time because of gas chambers in the concentration camps. Germans tended to regard the Jews as slaves, junking them by using toxic chemicals during wartime period. Motivated by Joseph's officer, Margaret hid Alik, her younger brother, outside of the ghetto. She and her husband secretly hid at attic of an iron factory for 9 months. It could be successful due to help from her Lithuanian neighbors. Finally, she avoided to go to the genocidal killing field.
After the Soviet Red Army raided Kaunas in 1944, Margaret reunited with her brother. During the rest of her life, she settled in Yorkshire, United Kingdom, because Joseph's father owned a textile plant. She often communicated with her rescuers in Lithuania and peacefully died with honor and prosperity in 2011. Margaret's silver efforts for survival turned her as an important witness of the German atrocities. Holocaust tragedy became well known for today's generation thanks to figures like her.